I'm Mike Bretner, and this is Capitol Views, and we have with us today Dr. Lisa Skiles Parady, who's the Executive Director of the Alaska Council of School Administrators. So, Lisa, first tell us a little bit about yourself, where you came from, how you got here.
Well, first, thank you for inviting me today. It's a pleasure to be here. And I hail from a state very similar to Alaska, Wyoming, in terms of its natural resource base and wide open, beautiful spaces. I was practicing law there for several years and then served in the governor's office as a senior policy person over education and other human resource areas. And then was the Department of Workforce director, so that I joined the governor's cabinet, and then moved to the chief of staff for the Department of Education, and then subsequently was recruited to Barrow, Alaska, of all places.
Now that's a switch.
You know, it was a switch in some ways, but you know, very comfortable with the cold. Love that weather, and just an incredible opportunity. Enjoy, you know, my family and I completely appreciated the culture and the history there and the opportunities.
And you have children?
We have 4 daughters. My husband Fred and I have 3 older daughters and what we refer to as our Barrow blessing, our youngest daughter, who's currently 6.
Well, tell us a bit about the association, because we don't hear as much about that, and how it functions and who it deals with. And if legislators and people come to you, I mean, you know, are your doors open?
Always open. We are the Alaska Council of School Administrators, as you opened with, and the way I describe that is, if you think about education in Alaska as a triangle, where you have the teachers, maybe the Teachers Union, NEA, Alaska, the elected school board members, and then districts. We're the voice of districts, so we represent all superintendents, secondary school principals, elementary school principals, and school business officials, as well as other administrators. And we have 2 purposes. The first is advocacy and support to policy around education in Alaska, because it's really the voice from the trenches, the front line, the people who are implementing a lot of the policies that are made. And our second, we have a kind of a bifurcated purpose, the second purpose being we're the largest provider of education professional development through the Alaska Staff Development Network, which is also part of our organization. So it's a like you said, maybe kind of the hardest working behind the scenes group, but very active and interested in issues around education in Alaska.
Your people have their hands on the necks of the youngsters, and
yes.
And that gets they talk to each other, and they also talk to each other through you in many cases. But you're a single conduit. So what are the big problems that you see coming down the track now with our physical problems?
Well, I think first we recognize that our policymakers, the governor and the legislators, are in incredibly difficult position. So we're grateful for the support that we've had in the past, recognizing that education is a constitutional duty. We really want to make sure, I think, that that there is a long-term multi-revenue fiscal plan to eliminate kind of the highs and lows of our oil-based economy. And that then supports school districts to best plan also, because they have as their charge to keep things best focused on the classroom to support students in Alaska, and in order to do that, I think it really helps them to have some kind of sustainability.
They communicate the problems. I can't imagine the problems some of them have, and just if you have to reduce force, how you do that, and I would think you need a little lead time.
Exactly. I think having some kind of consistent, reliable, predictable revenue stream is really important in order to best support students. And again, there's a lot of complexity. We recognize that. We want to be a resource in this process. Many districts are working very hard to change the way in which they deliver services and cooperate and coordinate services to become more efficient. We're trying to do our part in that process, but at the same time, you know, at the end of the day, what we're about is supporting students in the classroom.
Distance education gets talked about a lot now, and in rural Alaska, you have to have a system that works. I mean, otherwise, the download, the upload, you can't have students sitting there sort of waiting. You know, they get bored, they get distracted, and that's a big technical problem plus a practical problem in the classroom. It's easy to say what distance education, that's another thing to make it work.
It's very true, and I think looking at our broadband and bandwidth across Alaska continues to be a high priority for educators, particularly in rural Alaska. Been very pleased and thankful to both the governor and the legislators the last couple of years who have supported the Broadband Assistance Grant, which incrementally was raising the rural districts' availability to 10 megs, because you have a lot of little village schools that were trying to operate on 1 meg or 2 meg, and it's virtually impossible to do so. So while we probably don't have the ability to fix it because it's such a monumental problem, we do need to keep an eye on it as the pressure increases to shift our delivery model away from bricks and mortar. We have to continue to build the broadband capacity for school districts.
Lisa, we're out of time, unfortunately. It's been a pleasure to have you, and I'm Mike Bradner, and this is Capitol Views, and thank you.
Thank you so much for your time today.